I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe right now. My husband has gone missing, and I'm still trying to find him.
No, you misunderstand us. We are here to help with the investigation. We'd like to ask you some questions about Mr. Nagato's disappearance, if we may.
Ah, I see. I thought the debt collectors had come to visit again. I'm sorry you have to see me in this dreadful state. Has some new information come out? Do you know where he's gone?
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. We're still trying to find out as much as we can to inform our search. With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some questions about your family's current situation?
For example, Paimon's struggling to understand why a collector would be strapped for Mora.
That's a long story. Ever since I've known him, he's been an avid collector of all sorts of things. He'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but seeing how enthusiastic and excited they made him, I was happy to believe that they were just extremely important to him. Everything was fine when we first got married, but as time went by...
Uh-oh! What happened?
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things, and even resorted to borrowing money. Just our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him. But making ends meet has to come. On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said...
Whoa!
And that led to an argument.
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with the flow. On most things, he leaves the... You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our family to the brink. After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, he awkwardly mumbled that he would pick out a few items to sell. His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family? Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a predicament. And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he was simply angry with me. The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the buyer had gone missing.
I see. I understand. Ame no Mayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato. During the sale, a fire broke out at the warehouse, and both men disappeared.
At first, I assumed they must have gotten into an argument over but my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine him getting into a fierce argument.
Maybe he...
I don't know. He just disappeared after Perhaps he's too afraid to come home, now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire. Even though I'm still a little mad at him. We're a family, and I want us to face our family's crisis together. As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to this situation than meets the eye. If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this habit to change so drastically over a short... But the information we gathered from the other side suggests Ame no Mayuya is also a mild-mannered man who would not be likely to start an argument. This situation is getting a little confusing.
A little confusing? More like completely mystified.
Let's try a change of scenery and see if we can piece together what we've... Rest assured, we'll notify you if we find...
Thank you so much.
Based on the information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise that the sales meeting between the two men was somehow the catalyst for their disappearance. The fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the situation unfolded. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, Paimon was thinking that... Nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
An interesting explanation. I was also considering this. Amenoma Yuya is an expert on swords. He could have noticed some problem. Maybe he recognized a blade as a fake, or a well-known stolen item. Either way, after they thought a fire would destroy everything. But it's a far-fetched theory. One fact that I keep coming back to is that Amenoma Yuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is introverted and passive. Mr. Nagato, being heavily in debt, is also, the more I ponder it, the more puzzling it becomes. Right. Although the time frame seems to broadly match, Amenoma Yuya lacks a key distinguishing feature of the attacker, namely that he is principally a practitioner of the blade testing techniques of Amenoma art.
Darn! We thought we could get two birds with one stone here, but it didn't.
Let's keep going. If we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs. Nagato will be able to get some closure.
Okay, but
Let's head out of the city and check out the warehouse. There's still a chance we may be able to find some shreds of evidence.